I'm going to go to Lincoln, Nebraska, and I'm going to buy into the year 3 Matt Rule. The Huskers are sitting here with a win total of 7.5. His 2 previous stops at Temple and Baylor when everybody's talking about year 3 Matt Rule. At Temple, 2 wins, 6 wins, then year 3, 10 wins. At Baylor, 1 win, 7 wins, and then 11 wins in year 3 at Baylor. Nebraska, he had 5 wins and 7 wins, obviously question mark this year. Dylan Raiola, he was a true freshman, obviously former 5-star, but a true freshman playing in the freaking Big Ten, had an offensive coordinator change in the middle of the season, and obviously for the good with new OC Dana Holgorsen. Holgorsen's got a really good track record as an OC and has some pretty good coaching tree out there too, with Shannon Dawson at Miami and Jake Spavital at Baylor that's coached under him. But I love what they've done on the offensive side of the ball, Coney, bringing in Dane Key from Kentucky and Isaiah Hall from Cal, both of which were leading receivers at their respective programs. They've got a veteran offensive line, and not all of them have been at Nebraska the whole time. But they brought in Rocco Spindler from Notre Dame, from one of the better offensive lines in the country last year. They brought in Elijah Pritchett, who played tackle at Bama for really the last 2 years, especially last year. And question mark for me would be for them, Tony White, really good defensive coordinator. He's always been really good. He did a great job at Nebraska. He went on to Florida State and got poached there, Mike Norvell at Florida State. But John Butler, the new DC, longtime NFL journeyman, was with the Buffalo Bills for a long time. Matt Rule promoted him from within. He was the DB's coach last year. And they brought in Phil Snow, too, who was Matt Rule's almost like a mentor to him at Baylor in the past. So I still think the defense will be fine. But when I look at this schedule, it is very advantageous. Like I've been telling Tyler, like if not now, then when for Nebraska as far as trying to get over that hump. They don't play Ohio State. They don't play Oregon. And when did you ever think this would be a big deal? They don't play Indiana and they don't play Illinois. So they don't play 4 of like the top 6 or 7 teams in the big. And they get Michigan in Lincoln. They get USC in Lincoln. And of course, they got to go to Happy Valley and go to Penn State. I've personally got this Nebraska team going 9-3, but if they stub their toes somewhere else, because Nebraska's obviously been prone to do that in the recent years, if they do stub their toes somewhere and like lose to an Iowa or lose on the road at Minnesota against a solid PJ Fleck row the boat bunch up there in Minnesota, that's still 8-4, and it gets you to the window in that over 7.5.
Yeah, and you talk about them hosting USC. One interesting point that we just got done talking about here on Crane and Company is that hosting of USC is going to end a 4-game gauntlet for the Trojans. Now, they get a bye. They do get a bye before they have to go to Lincoln, but still the 4 games in a row in that stretch is absolutely brutal for USC. I have a lot of respect for Nebraska. I like them as a college football program. I like their fans, and you have to understand in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I was really falling in love with the sport, that's like the Eric Crouch days, winning the Heisman Trophy, going and playing Miami in the national championship. And so that's what I still have in my head as to what is capable. Now, for a number of reasons, proximity to recruits, maybe moving off some coaches a little bit too early, you found yourself in a position where we're talking about a little bit like Auburn, to be honest with you, even though Auburn's had more success nationally in recent years, but where we're talking about, man, how can we finagle this schedule to where we get 8-4, and that's something to be optimistic about? I just saw Michigan go 8-5 a year ago with those 2 huge wins that you were talking about, and sign the highest rated recruit in the history of the program, and still we're like, man, what an awful year for Michigan. That used to be what the standard was for Nebraska. Is Matt Rule the guy to lead the Cornhuskers back to thinking 8-4 is a terrible year, rather than 8-4? That's optimistic, and we should have some momentum behind us. I don't know the answer to that question. No one knows the answer to that question, but you talked about Dylan Raiola at quarterback. All of the talent is there, the talent capabilities. My biggest question here before we kick the season on August 23rd is, what was the growth like in the off season? If you copy and paste the Dylan Raiola from last year into 2025, I don't think your over is going to be hitting on the win total there. But then again, I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think you're talking about a young quarterback who was a 5-star, who, idolizes Patrick Mahomes for better or worse, you know, and you're going to see that growth into 2025. And if that's the case, I mean, the ceiling really does start to tip up a notch because of his talent.